dad is an absolute DILF. He used to be a competitive bodybuilder and even did some modeling back in the day. Well, let's just say my boyfriend didn't turn out with the same looks. Don't get me wrong, my boyfriend is really sweet, but he's not the best looking guy. One of the reasons we started dating and I really liked him was because of how considerate and loving he was. We started off as friends and he would take me out to dinner, wine and dine me, eventually asked me to be his girlfriend and I said yes. We both come from wealthy families, and our families loved the idea of us being together. Exactly a year ago, we moved in together, and he got a new job that required him to travel a lot. Well, he asked his dad to come check on me. So his dad would come over, we would watch movies, and just hang out. But one night we decided to do some drinking. I got super tipsy, and so did he. One thing led to another, and we ended up, And after that, we did it over and over. Of course, my boyfriend's dad felt super guilty, and so did I. I mean, he was cheating on his wife with me, and I was cheating on his son with him. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I hooked up with my boyfriend's dad. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. After my boyfriend's dad and I had hooked up a couple of times, of course, he felt really guilty, and so did I. We decided to end things cordially and never tell anyone about it. Fast forward to when my boyfriend comes home from his work trip. I had to pretend like nothing happened, but it was really hard, because at this point I definitely caught feelings for my boyfriend's dad. I became really distant from my boyfriend and he started noticing. He also asked me one day if his dad came over to check up on me, which I said yes. After that, things were just not the same between my boyfriend and I. He would always ask me why I never touched him or kissed him, and I would just say that I felt bad or that I had my period. A month later, my boyfriend goes on another work trip. My boyfriend even invited me to come on the work trip, but I said no. Instead, as soon as he left, I called his dad and told him to come over. I told him I just wanted to talk, but really, his dad came over, we talked for about an hour, and then it happened again. It's like we just couldn't help ourselves. That's when he told me that he was catching feelings for me and that maybe even wanted to get a divorce. Part 3 is
He walked up to me and I told him to go away, but he said in all caps, "Be my girlfriend." I said in all caps, "No," and leave me alone. I thought he would leave me alone, so I walked away, and he just followed me and said, "Be my girlfriend or else I will come to your house." I left the game and blocked him, and I started to think he was not a child. About a month later, I had forgot about it, and nothing had happened, just the usual going to school. A few days later, a guy texted me saying, "I'm coming to your house. You have to be my girlfriend." I was terrified, so I immediately blocked the number. The next day, we got a knock on the door, and I forgot about the message, and my mom answered the door. It was probably a 50-year-old man, and my mom asked what he needed. He said that he wanted to see me, and my mom asked if I knew him, and I said no. He then yelled at me saying, "You must be my girlfriend." I yelled no, and he went to grab me. Part 2. He walked up to me and I told him to go away, but he said in all caps, "Be my girlfriend." I said in all caps, "No," and leave me alone. I thought he would leave me alone, so I walked away, and he just followed me and said, "Be my girlfriend or else I will come to your house." I left the game and blocked him, and I started to think he was not a child. About a month later, I had forgot about it, and nothing had happened, just the usual going to school. A few days later, a guy texted me saying, "I'm coming to your house. You have to be my girlfriend." I was terrified, so I immediately blocked the number. The next day, we got a knock on the door, and I forgot about the message, and my mom answered the door. It was probably a 50-year-old man, and my mom asked what he needed. He said that he wanted to see me, and my mom asked if I knew him, and I said no. He then yelled at me saying, "You must be my girlfriend." I yelled no, and he went to grab me. I screamed as loud as I could and ran back into the house. My mom yelled at him, and she...
If you're ever driving late at night, don't do what they did. One night, a boy and his friend were on their way to a school dance when they saw a girl on the side of the road looking lost. They stopped the car and asked if she needed a ride, and she asked them to take her home. They said that they were going to a school dance and asked if she wanted to come too. She agreed. But these boys wouldn't know yet that this girl was not an average hitchhiker. So they all got in the car and the girl sat in the back seat. After a while, the girl would constantly say that she was cold, so one of the boys gave her his jacket. They got to the dance and things were pretty normal. But what happened after would make the boys question reality. When the night was almost over, it was finally time to take the girl home. When they almost arrived, the girl told them where she lived, but told them to drop her off close by so she can walk the rest of the way. So that's what they did. But after the girl walked away, the boy who let her borrow his jacket realized that he never asked for his jacket back. His friend said that they could just come back tomorrow for it.
Crazy story time about how my sister and I found out that we were hooking up with the same guy. So I was a freshman, my sister was a sophomore, and there was this really cute guy in her grade that I liked. But I could never find a way to talk to him because we weren't in the same grade and had none of the same classes. And my sister and I were not close at all. Like, we didn't tell each other shit, we didn't really talk to each other or anything. So by that being said, we never told each other about the boys that we liked. We just didn't have that bond. Well, track season came around. So they called all the people down who wanted to do track, and I saw him walk past my classroom window, so I decided to go too. So I signed up for track, and him and I started to talk a little bit. We exchanged numbers, and he was popular, I wasn't, so he didn't want to be seen with me. So after attendance, we would go to this graveyard right by the track and hook up. Well, the next day we had a meet in our school. So him and I went to the graveyard, hooked up, and that's when it started getting crazy like for part 2.
He walked up to me and I told him to go away, but he said in all caps, "Be my girlfriend." I said in all caps, "No," and leave me alone. I thought he would leave me alone, so I walked away, and he just followed me and said, "Be my girlfriend or else I will come to your house." I left the game and blocked him, and I started to think he was not a child. About a month later, I had forgot about it, and nothing had happened, just the usual going to school. A few days later, a guy texted me saying, "I'm coming to your house. You have to be my girlfriend." I was terrified, so I immediately blocked the number. The next day, we got a knock on the door, and I forgot about the message, and my mom answered the door. It was probably a 50-year-old man, and my mom asked what he needed. He said that he wanted to see me, and my mom asked if I knew him, and I said no. He then yelled at me saying, "You must be my girlfriend." I yelled no, and he went to grab me.
I was a product of an affair between my mom and dad. My mom was already married and had a 1-year-old daughter. She wanted to abort me, but my dad begged her and paid her a hefty sum. She signed over all rights and I didn't see her for my 14 years of life. She recently contacted my dad saying she wanted to get to know me better, and he said it's entirely up to me. I was skeptical but decided to meet her. I've been talking to my mom's side for about 2 months when at a family gathering they all sat me down and said the reason they contacted me was because my half-sister was having kidney failure and was basically dying. At a loss for words, I got up and left. Told my dad, and he said it's entirely up to me, but I should get tested just to see before I make my decision. So I did. When my mom found out, she thought this was me agreeing and told everyone the good news. I did a lot of thinking, and I decided I would not be donating my kidney. This family had done nothing for me. The only reason they tried to get in contact was for my kidney. So I don't want anything to do with them. I got loads of hateful calls and messages, but decided to stand by my decision. My stepsister called me and said I'm a douche for giving her false hope. People are saying I'm wrong because I can save a life. My stepsister did nothing wrong. But I feel so used. Am I the asshole for not giving my sister my kidney?
This is why waking up late might just save your life. One day when I was in elementary school, my mom and I both overslept, which meant I wouldn't be ready in time to get on the bus. School started at 8, my bus pickup time was at 7, and it was already 6:40 or something. I was still in my PJs and hadn't even had breakfast yet. My mom decided that today we would just tell the bus driver to go on ahead and she would take me to school, which would give me plenty of time to get ready. It's 6:50, I'm in my PJs eating breakfast, and that's when we hear the bus pull up 10 minutes earlier than scheduled. My mom peeks her head out of the door into the foggy morning and waves the bus on. She closed the door and came back inside, but the bus didn't pull away. There's a knock at the door, and my mom opens it to find a man in a bus driver uniform. He explains he's a substitute bus driver because the regular driver called in sick, and that he's early because he wanted to get an early start on the route. My mom says she's taking me to school because we woke up late. He gets visibly upset and says he can wait a few minutes since he's already ahead of schedule. My mom says that we won't be ready in a few minutes and tells him to go on ahead. He seemed really angry about this, but
My boyfriend threatened me and told me that if I didn't share the money, he would tell my sugar daddy that I had a boyfriend. I believed him. I went back to my sugar daddy's table and we basically had dinner with my boyfriend sitting across from us having dinner with his friends. The whole time I was trying to figure out how I would break up with my boyfriend without having to share the money that my sugar daddy gave me. I told my sugar daddy that I wasn't feeling well. He called me an Uber to take me back to my apartment. I got to my apartment and I started packing my stuff. Like, I knew my boyfriend was bad for making me pay for everything, but I didn't know he was that bad. He freaking threatened me. Then he starts calling my phone, sends a text message, and it says, "I'm gonna be home in 5 minutes." So I gathered all my things, ran downstairs, and waited behind the building for the Uber. And my boyfriend sees me, comes up to me and rips my bag away from me. Tried to get my phone, but I took it away from him. And he said that I had to share the money that my sugar daddy gave me. Finally, the Uber arrives and I jump in. My boyfriend actually pulled me by my hair to try to get me out of the car. I've blocked him and haven't spoken to him since, and I'm still with my sugar daddy.
I can't be the only one. Who else knows people that have killed other people?
Finally, something that I can actually relate to. So my grandma killed her mom, so she killed my great-grandma. It's kind of a crazy story, but back in the 90s, my grandma was over at her house giving her a bath. She was elderly, so my grandma was kind of in charge of taking care of her. During the bath, my grandma brought up the past about how she was abused as a child by one of her stepdads, and her mom then basically admitted to knowing about the abuse, but blamed her for it instead of the stepdad, which sent my grandma into a rage. She ended up drowning my great-grandma, and then after she was dead, instead of calling the police, she
One day, I went to my friend's birthday party. We're gonna call her Jazzy. Well, I'm at the party, and then Jazzy's dad pulls me aside, and he's like, can we talk in private? I was like, yeah, of course, because I thought it was gonna be like a gift for Jazzy. So long story short, he pulls me aside, and it gets so motherfucking weird. Like homeboy starts holding my hand, and he's like, I always thought you were one of Jazzy's most beautiful friends. Age is just a number. I don't really like my wife. And I was like, that's disgusting. So I got to the point where I got really uncomfortable. I ran away and I went to go tell Jazzy's mom what her husband was telling me. So I go tell her, right? This is the best part. So I go to tell Jazzy's mom and she's like, thank you for telling me. I'm gonna take care of it. Here's this water, drink it. Like, you're probably so overwhelmed right now. So I remember I drank the water and I felt dizzy and tingly. Next thing I know, I'm in the hospital because Jazzy's mom put poison.
Don't mind me literally bawling my eyes out. I just went to the nail salon. I usually do my nails at home, but I wanted to do them nice for graduation that's coming up. And I grew out my nails. They were super long, and they did the worst job of my entire life. Like, I'm actually in tears, and I've been crying for the past hour. I even had the audacity to go in and tell them that I hated them, and they did nothing. They were like telling me that it's my fault that my nails shaped this way. Like, I was in actual shock. So I just left because I was literally gonna bawl my eyes out all over again. So the place is called, Kala, what's the place called? LMX.
Wait, no.
The place is called VWC Nails. It's 2020 Penrose Avenue, Philadelphia, PA. Okay, so if you're in Philly, do not go here because I swear to God, you're gonna regret it. I paid $35 for this, plus tip, because I'm stupid. For the worst job ever. First off, the gel, like the top coat that they applied, is not shiny. In this nail, it's matte. Just random, okay? Then, they shaved them down. I asked for almond. So this is what I asked for. Literally, do you see it? Yeah, this is what I asked for, okay? And my nails do not look like this. This is what they gave me, but this doesn't even show what happened. Like, look at the bumps on this right here. That's my thumb. Yeah, hello. Oh, yeah. Bumps all over. More bumps. This is my other nail. My nail chipped, so I asked them if they could do this one acrylic. It literally looks like a falcon's nail. Like, look at how pointed that is. It's literally pointing downwards, like they couldn't even shape it properly. Oh, and for reference, this is what my natural nails look like before. I know you can't see it that well, but this is what they look like before. And then this thumb, this nail, look at this thing. Can you even, like, it's one part's literally going like this and the other one's going straight. Like, tell me if that's normal. And I told her, I was like, hey, this one's all like crooked. And she was like, yeah, because you did that. And I'm like, sorry? No, I didn't. She, at the very beginning, she started cutting them, like the corners, and made them stiletto. When I showed her that reference image, that's obviously almond. And she started cutting them stiletto. I'm like, no, this is not what I wanted. So I'm like, okay, can you like make them rounder? She does a horrible job. So I'm like, okay, can I have the nail file? I try to salvage whatever is left of them. And then when I tell her that this one sucks, she's like, you filed that. I'm like, no, you did. I didn't do that. And she starts laughing. I'm like, what? Like, look at this. Please tell me you can see that because that's the ugliest thing ever. Look at it. It has a bump in it. So just don't go to VWC Nails. Don't do it. I swear to God, I wish I could get